first city really to run out of water. They are getting the water now between 30 and 40 days. They get it for one day or 2 days.
And then I have to wait 30 or 40 more days for water to come
to get it again. Yes.
And what do I do in between?
The rest of the time they have to buy from tankers at a very high cost.
What is that?
Was that Tom Friedman? That was a clip from Years of Living Dangerously, a series on Showtime exploring climate change. And joining us now from Washington, New York Times columnist Thomas Friedman, who is also a correspondent for the series.
Tom, that was shot in such a way. I mean,
I thought it was James Bond.
That was, yeah, exactly.
My goodness.
Amazing what they can do in Hollywood.
Actually, you're shedding light, though, on an issue we need to talk about.
Yeah, I totally got the issue wrong, so let's talk about the right issue.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Climate change. I get bad information from my own head. Talk about this series. It looks incredible.
What were we looking at?
Oh, it's an amazing 9-part series, really looking at how climate change, environmental stresses are actually playing out on the ground in real life. I was involved in 4 episodes. One was in Syria, looking at the drought in northern Syria. That was one of the stressors that really provoked the Syrian uprising, a 4-year drought before the uprising happened. That was Yemen, where we were visiting Taz, a town in central Yemen, where if you turn on your tap, you get water once every 30 to 40 days. And we were covering 2 villages who were fighting over a water well. And the last show I was involved with, which appeared last night, which is about the world bread crisis, wheat crisis, that helped really, again, stimulate the revolution in Egypt.
Donnie.
So through this 9-part series, Tom, I mean, what's the arc? What are we going to see unveiled before our eyes?
Well, you know, what it's really about is the predicament we're in, which is, you know, as climate scientists say, we're at a stage right now where we've got to manage the unavoidable and avoid the unmanageable. Climate change is going to be part of our lives. There's part of it we have to adapt to. But there are certain red lines that if we cross them, you're going to get into some really disruptive stuff. But the main point of the show is it's here already. People are living it, and they're living the geopolitical impacts of it right now.
Steve.
So, Tom, it seems that the case seems completely unquestionable. There doesn't seem to be a shred of an argument on the other side of this. And your show, of course, just will drive it home. But why can we not get the things done, even in our own country, that we all know need to be done, things like a carbon tax, things that would take much more dramatic action to deal with this problem?
Well, you know, Steve, in the last show, I actually have a chance to interview the president. He gave us a long interview, his first ever, I think, on just the subject of climate change. That'll appear on June 9th. And, you know, he really talks about it. It's a challenge when you have people stressing out about their income, getting through the week, as you've been talking about on the show just before I came on. It's just very hard to confront an issue that plays out long term, whose biggest impact will be on people who haven't been born yet. And the way I like to talk about it is that, you know, the thing about it, if we took climate change seriously right now, what would we do? Well, one of the things we do is we would reduce income taxes and corporate taxes and replace them with a carbon tax. One of the things we do is we would have cleaner air. One of the things we would do would have a greater energy efficiency. One of the things we would do is reduce our imports of foreign oil. Everything you would actually do to deal with climate change now would make America healthier, stronger, more geopolitically secure, weaken the worst petro-dictators in the world like Putin, whose only resource now, you're talking about Ukraine, is his oil and gas revenue. Really, taking climate change seriously now is like training for the Olympics. Whether you make the finals or not, you are healthier, fitter, and stronger.
Gene Robinson.
Tom, if the world doesn't get it together to address climate change by reducing climate emissions and temperatures keep rising, is there a danger that some country will try to take unilateral sort of kind of geoengineering action to try to slow it down? Is that on the radar scope?
Well, you know, I don't really think, I mean, it's hard to imagine, you know, what any individual country could do. when that question gets turned on us, Gene, and people say, well, hey, you got China out there, India, nothing we do really matters. I really disagree with that for two reasons. One is we are such an example for the world. China and India can sit back and say, well, if America's not taking it seriously, why should we, especially since we have so much catch-up to do. When we take it seriously, when America changes, our power of emulation is so much greater than any other country in the world. But more importantly, you know, whether you believe in climate or not, you know, I wrote a book, Hot, Flat, and Crowded, okay? Hot, that was global warming. Some people don't believe in it, some people don't. Okay, take out your eraser, get rid of hot. That's between you and your beach house, okay? I believe in it, you don't believe in climate change, fine. I wouldn't build a house on the beach, but that's your business. But you better believe in flat and crowded. You better believe that the world is getting more and more middle classes in all of these countries, people who can see how Americans live and aspire to how we live in American-sized homes, driving American-sized cars, eating American-sized Big Macs. That's number one. And at the same time, baked into the cake, the world's going from 7 billion to 9 billion between now and 2050, unless there's a massive epidemic. So just that combination of more people and more people living like us means that clean energy, clean water, and clean air systems are going to be, they have to be, the next great global industry. So don't you want America to lead that industry?
Might be nice, Willie.
Tom, it's Willie, guys. First of all, Donnie asked me to leave his beach house.
Thank you.
Right.
I'm sitting there going, come on.
You have it on pedestals, don't you? So.
It's between you and your beach house.
Which beach house of his, we don't know what he's talking about.
Exactly.
Tom, let me ask you quickly before we let you go. In the wake of 9/11, you wrote in the weeks and months after that and woke a lot of people up, I think, about our relationship with countries in the Middle East, as you call them, petro-dictatorships, and you said we need to get off foreign oil. In the 12 or 13 years since, we've moved in that direction with natural gas and some other sources here in the United States. How is that energy revolution now, a decade on, going in the United States?
Well, actually, you know, clean power systems are really scaling a lot faster than people realize. Solar, for instance, now very competitive. Natural gas, if extracted under the proper environmental regulations, can be a real bridge to the future, but it has to be paired with a national renewable portfolio standard that requires every utility to phase in more renewable power, so natural gas replaces coal and not solar and wind. We are actually really close. We are well positioned. If you had a carbon tax, I would settle for a carbon tax of a penny a ton, because the signal it would send to every industry, every boss, every CEO is we need to get ready, our company, our country, for a different kind of economy. It's so win-win-win. It really it pains you to see us not taking full advantage of this.
The series finales of Years of Living Dangerously airs Monday, June 9th on Showtime. Thomas Friedman.